Hi, this is Kirk with Forex Strategies and Secrets, and today we're going to be talking about Lesson 2, and that is what to look for. Last time in Lesson 1 we talked about finding the direction to trade. Now once we know the direction, let's determine what we look for in those directions. So everything we're going to show you today can be learned very quickly. And so what we're finding is that the time frame for the main course, we have some bonus material, but for the main course is way under 2 hours. And we're saying that some people say, well, it took me 2 hours to go through it, but I was taking my time. So an hour to maybe an hour and a half, you can watch all of the videos, and then you can be up to speed very quickly with this particular strategy. So what are the indicator setups to look for? What do you look for when there's a trend trade, or what do you look for when there's a counter trend trade? Those are the two things that we're going to be talking about. So let's just go right to the charts. Now in these charts we're looking at a 15-minute chart. This gave good examples of what we're trying to illustrate today. And so one of the things you want to look for is counter trend trading. You want to look for 4 bars. There's a 4 bar. That's heads up. Another thing you'd want to look for is the hot lines. What are they doing? They're crossing, and so on the second bar you get a confirmation of a 4 bar, and then the hot lines going in that direction. Counter trend trading, it's best if they have 4 bar. You sometimes can see an early bird filter, and you look at the course material, tell you what an early bird filter is. But the one main thing you want to look for is this is the filter. This bottom indicator is called the filter. When it crosses below the 0 line. So even before that, it might have been a heads up when it crossed below, but it's not an early bird filter. So when it's a 4 bar or an early bird filter, you look for trades in the counter trend trade. Now the early bird filter even becomes stronger in the trend, when the trend is actually going. Now you see up here, this is counter trend up here, but this is a trend. It came down, retraced, and so anything over here is it going in the direction of the trend. So I usually don't like to trade over here until it does its retracement. Almost, I don't know, a very high percentage of the time it's going to do a retracement. Sometimes it's just a little sideways, just 1 bar is the retracement. There's always some type of a retracement. This is not a pure early bird filter because everything didn't line up, but it was a saddle right there. And so that would be a thing you could look for. Saddles. This went below the 0 line just barely. You can't see it because of the screen, but barely went there. And then there was a 4 bar. So that says, okay, trade in that direction. Now we're going back the other direction. What are we looking for? We're looking for, here's an early bird filter crossing that 0 line. That's why that becomes strong, is when it recrosses. If it had been an early bird filter before that, it's not as strong. So I would wait till early bird filters in counter trend trades. The other thing you want to look for is how far away from it is from this moving average. This is quite a ways away. At a sharp decline. Right here the hot lines were just crossing, but they really could see the cross after you got the 4 bar. So right in there, what did we have? We had a filter, cross, early bird filter. Then we had a 4 bar. So that says, okay, that is the thing you can be looking for in a counter trend trade. Mark that 4 bar. You've got all the information right now. Now we're going to go a little bit deeper into it so you can see what the smaller time frames look like. So what we're looking for is early bird filters with a fresh filter cross, or a 4 bar. That's a counter trend trade. In the trend, you can look for early bird filters, saddles, and 4 bars. Now all this terminology is described in the course material, and you can pick it up very quickly once you know what you're looking for. So let's go to this very first area and look at the smaller time frames. What did they look like? Smaller time frames, you want to have a 4 bar. So on this 5 minute, you want to have a 4 bar. Well, there's a 4 bar on the left line, but it for your next 4-bar is right here. There's a saddle, there's on the correct side, another saddle, fresh color change. It wasn't a fresh cross of the 0 line, but it was a fresh color change, and it was below the moving average. So those areas would be where I'd be looking at. Now let's look at the 1 minute. 1 minute, this line off to the left was a 4-bar on the 15-minute. Notice it's below the moving average, and so there was a nice little trade. Not big, but it could have been a trade for 4 or 5 pips. And then we have another move over here. And what was this one? It was a 4-bar on the 5-minute, and it was notice it's not a 4-bar on the 15. So let's go to the 4-bar on the 15 and see what the 5 looks like. 5 was a 4-bar at that point, and the 1 minute became a 4-bar shortly thereafter, and so there was a nice heads up. Now, once you determine which direction you're trading on the 15, we determine up here which direction we're trading. We figure we're trading short right in that area. Let's go to the 5. The 5 said, okay, there's a double saddle fresh cross, so that would have been the strongest entry out of all those we've seen right there. And I'm going to put a line on that one just so you can, if you look at that, what does that look like? What do you see there? That is the strongest signal you're going to get. Double saddle fresh cross 4-bar. Then on the 1 minute, that's where the big move starts. It started right over here when all of the indicators are starting to go below that 0 line, and it's below that moving average. Then you see there was a move, a rest, and then another move for 15 pips. Okay, now this is counter trend. We're trading up here where there's not even a trend. Now let's move to the next section. We have a lot of lines over here, but let's move this anchor over to here. First of all, we see a fresh cross on the filter. Fresh color up here, fresh saddle. Then we see a 4-bar. So that's what we're looking on the larger time frame. On this 5, where do you see a 4-bar? Well, the 4-bar came one time frame later, or 5 minutes later. Then we go to the 1 minute. Okay, what was the 1 minute? It was like a very good setup. It was crossing the 0 line here. It wasn't quite a fresh color change, but everything was looking good right there. And so there was a small trade there with the retracement. Now what can you do? You can say, okay, now I know the direction of the 5 and the 15 is short. So on this 1 minute, look for fresh saddles, fresh color, fresh crosses. There's 2 fresh crosses and a saddle right here for another 10 pips. Now, if you know how to manage this, you probably could have traded that whole section in one trade. It went in 9 pips in your direction, came back against you, almost 7 of that, or 6 of it. And then it went down to a total of 16, and there's exit signals right in this area. But then what do? You get back in. When the setup sets up again, notice what happened. Everything, we went sideways, and as soon as it all starts crossing below, that's your next signal again, what to look for. You found the direction, you know what to look for on this 15, and now you start trading the 1 and the 5 going short. Notice all these moves you could have taken. 5 pips there. That's probably 5 to 7 pips there. Now if you know how to manage these, you could have done quite a bit. Now look, we're over to these other lines over here. Now what happened? We showed you a whole bunch of moves possibly right here. Now we're right here in this area. Now the one thing I want to mention, look how far away the price bars are away from that moving average. It's amount. It's enough to say, okay, that's pretty good. But look how far away it is over here. It's even a lot further, and it's a sharper descent than that was going up. And so what are we looking for? We had a fresh cross of the filter, and it turned out to be, eventually, it wasn't an early bird filter in the beginning, but towards the end it was an early bird filter going long. Or the 4-bar. Go to the 5-minute. What do we see? Well, there was a 4-bar, and there was another 4-bar. So there's 2 4-bars right there. So we go to the 1-minute. It's kind of right on the line. I may or may not have taken that one. Right here is probably the one that I like the best up to this point. It's a saddle, and a fresh cross, 4-bar. Double saddle, fresh cross, 4-bar. It only went 5 pips, but we're on a 1-minute chart. Another fresh cross, or fresh color change, saddle, right color, 4-bar, everything's going that direction, and there's a big move right there for 40 some odd pips. 20 pips here. You could have entered again over here for another 10-15 pips. Now that's what happens right in here. So let me mark this so you can see what happened right here on these smaller time frames. That's what the 5-minute looks like, and we have to zoom out to see what the 1-minute looks like. A big move here, but look over here. What are you looking for? Saddle, 4-bar, right side. Right there was an early bird filter. The next one was a saddle for another 13 pips. So there was a nice move there. So once you know what to look for, rehearse them. You can see them when they're forming. Once you know when to what they look like. Look for the saddles. They're obvious. Right here, this would have been one color. All of a sudden it changes a different color. You can spot them as it's going. It's not like you always have to look back in history. That was a fresh color change. That was a fresh color change. That already was the color change. That was on the correct side. And so you say, oh, that's the direction that I'm going to be trading. See these lines? There's 2 vertical lines. Right there give you heads up on a larger time frame. You had confirmation on a smaller time, the next larger time frame, and on the 1-minute, you had possibly something over here, but for sure, confirmation over here for the big move. So we've talked about trend trading and counter trend trading, looking for 4-bars, early bird filters, saddles, and fresh crosses. Especially the fresh cross of the filter and the male. Okay, now we're going to share with you how you can get your copy of the 15 trading strategy. Now the course only is $500, and you will get the complete course, 2 months of the scanner, which is normally $100 a month. And if you would like, you can also ask for and get some coaching on the strategy. After you get the first 2 free months of the scanner, then if you want to continue with the scanner, then you get the $50 a month. That's what you have to pay for the scanner setup. And there's a link. So you type this into a browser, and you can get your copy for $500, and you get the $50 a month thereafter. Or if you don't want to do that, if you want scanner and the strategy for $100 a month. Since you quit paying $100 a month, you don't get the scanner and you don't get the template either. So here's the link for that. So if you have any questions, then you can contact Jed or myself and actually start making some pips. We have people that have had the course for 2-3 days and actually say they're starting to make pips. Have it for a week and starting to make pips. Most courses, it takes you longer than that to go through it. And so this is a fantastic quick way to get up to speed quickly and start making pips and making money. As soon as you're confident in your demo account, then you can move to your live account.